What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and we are here for the UBL Season 4 Week 1 battle. I'm already screwing my intro just like I screwed my recording, as you can tell, cause the audio is not unsynced, and that is because my audio wasn't recording as I tried to do my first ever live commentary, but you would figure that I would be able to screw it up, and I was able to do that. And basically how that actually happened was that my computer had a system update, a very long one, before I actually started to connect with Rewt on Discord and try to get the chess timer shenanigans going. And if you don't happen to know, it is pretty hard to figure out on your first attempt of doing it. And it took us for at least 1 to 2 hours at least, and the system update also took an hour. So I was at least 3 hours in just waiting to get the battle done. So I was just so hesitant to get into it. I clicked the recording, and little did I notice that my microphone wasn't even vibrating, in a sense of that it would be actually recording in my OBS settings. So that was something that I overlooked, but just recapping quickly my team that I'm bringing. I'm gonna be bringing physically defensive Seismito with Rocky Helmet, specially defensive Corvinat with Okkaberry, specially defensive heavy duty boots Sentiscores, Flame of Gods, Obstagoon, Joyskav, Rodom, and heavy duty boots Noivern in itself. And the team that Rewt is gonna be bringing is gonna be Dracovish, Togekiss, Cinderace, Duraludon, Rotomo, and Orbido in itself. And the rest of the roster that he has, I leave a link down below in the description to the website of his team page where you can check it out. I don't want to spend time on covering that, because you do notice from the length of the video that this is a doozy one to sit tight in, and I don't want to just prolong it any further. So if you are interested to check out his roster, you can do that down below in the description. But now, let's jump into the battle, as we are going to be following my own live webcam as I was reacting to this battle, and me just post commentary on it. Kind of self-reflecting a little bit as well here, and giving you kind of intel that what kind of things that I was hesitated and thinking throughout the battle in itself, and what led to the outcome that we are gonna be having. And I'm gonna be leading up with my Noivern. That is going to be my dedicated lead into this matchup, no matter what team of 6 that he brought, because I love Frisk ability versus opponent like Rewt, who is very unpredictable at times with his sets. And I mean it in a good way, because it can be very awkward to figure him out at first. So having ability with Noivern with Frisk helped me a lot. And I do pack also Protect if he had any kind of choice coffer in front of me, so I can, or any kind of choice mono for that matter, to just figure out what move they are locking themselves into. And now you notice that I do take a lot of time here, and unfortunately I forgot how much max speed Duraludon took from Draco Meteor. So here I was kinda calky. Worst case scenario, after I noticed that it's a holding Power Herb, probably for a Solar Beam coming into my Seismito potentially. So I knew that it wasn't Choice Scarf, so I know as long as I just managed to land my Draco Meteor, I can potentially kill it. But it was a roll on a worst case scenario of being max HP. So I just made a safe play, go for the U-turn and go into my Sentiscores, because I already know one of its moves and I can suspect what the other moves are. And he's gonna be actually revealing the second move that he's gonna be having with Stealth Rock. So this is already locking his 4 moves to be somewhere between Stealth Rock, Solar Beam, which are basically confirmed, and then it would be somewhere between his Dual Stab and then most likely Thunderbolt as well for my Corviknight. So he should not having any kind of rock coverage to hit my Sentiscore, which makes it a very good counter to it. And now I'm free to stay and go for the knockoff, because nothing on his team, honestly, even though it seems weird to say because it's so obvious, that nothing obviously appreciates to be knocked off, but especially his team, I find it to be somewhat knockoff weak, in a sense that a lot of his moves do benefit having some sort of boosting item on them, whether it's for a speed or for attack. So having knockoff user like Sentiscores and Obstacle were something that I really appreciated of having. And we noticed that the Mr. Face, the Dracovish, came in and took the knockoff, and we were able to remove a C incense, if I pronounced that right, which is basically a water boosting item, which makes a lot of sense because obviously this thing is only clicking Vicious Ren 90% of time until it has to predict a water immunity like my Seismitoad, and that's what I'm gonna be going into. But I took a lot more time that you would think that I should be taking on this particular turn, because I was worried about him making double into Rotom-Mow, but while he did the double, he actually makes the double into the Duraludon instead of Rotom-Mow, which is actually better for me because I already know some of its sets, and I have a funny feeling that he should not be able to touch my Sandiscope, which is gonna be the one that I just go back into, because it puts me in a position that he has harder time to really defend on it, or he's not in a great position to switch into my Sandiscopes combined with Fire Blast and Knockoff. So you're gonna notice that my opponent takes a little bit of time on this turn, particularly what he wants to do, and this is a turn that I'm not sure that whether he missed out on the fact that I was able to frisk his item, or he's hoping that I would choke here and stay in, and potentially myself forgot about the item that he had on it, and maybe I kind of misnoticed it all in action. But either way, whatever the reason was, he decided to pull his trigger with the Solar Beam, and it's gonna be coming into my Sandiscope, which is gonna be times 4 resisting it. You're gonna notice on my face cam, if you happen to even watch it briefly, that I find it amusing how little this damage started this thing, because it did like 14 to my HP, which is very little coming out of a Duraludon, which has a high special attack stat of 120, I believe, naturally, or 125, somewhere between that. It's very high special attack stat that it has, but we took so little from it without typing in itself. And now I just went for safe knockoff, even though we already know that it was able to remove its item, so it's not gonna take as much damage from this as it would have otherwise. I figure that it's pretty much safe bet for me to do, because I feel really comfortable versus this Duraludon, even if it reveals to have its strongest stab of Draco Minio coming into my way, because I have Restock, I can heal myself back up, it's gonna be lowering its special attack stat, and we are good to go from there. So I figure that it's better for me to catch something coming in instead of worrying about what's in front of me, and he's gonna be going for the Thunderbolt. Try to get some chip damage on me, because he probably noticed how big of an issue this mon is, and how little value he is getting out of his Duraludon after it got its Stealth Rocks up. And here I figure that, you know what, he seems to be sacking this thing, let's go for the Fire Blast and start actually doing more damage to it, especially once we get the defense drop on it. And the first one did already good amount, so the following one should be able to kill it if I would go for that. But this is gonna be a turn that I was debating going for a rest instead and feel more safe from there, because I do need this thing healthy. As you're gonna notice that I do take a following note on it, like how healthy do I need this mon to be versus him, and that's where I ultimately decide, instead of attacking, go for the rest, because I figure that after the rest I can safely go for the Sleep Talk, and hopefully with Sleep Talk rolls I still get one of my attacks off for whatever would be coming in. So I figure that it's a lot safer for me in the long run, and I should not be too terrible spot on the following turn. But you're gonna notice that there is something that in a hindsight I should have been more proactive of, and how I should have reacted, but I'm gonna be covering that once we get into that point. But at this point I still agree in a hindsight that what I did, because this was a very important turn. But here Rewt does make a double into his Togekiss, and this was a turn where I clicked this Sleep Talk, and how I mentioned that it was quote-unquote safe. But the issue is that if I don't get the Sleep Talk right and potentially get a knockoff or Fire Blast or any kind of damage to one of his biggest threats versus me, which is this Togekiss, I'm in a tough spot immediately defensively wise, and I have to go into my Okaberry Corviknight, which I knew that I had in the back, which can take it on even if he has Flamethrower and goes for like Nasty Blood, for example. I'll take +2 Flamethrower or Fire Blast after Stealth Rocks with my bulk and the Okaberry helping me in that regard, and I can go for Iron Hen. If he's max HP, I do at least 50% to him. If he's like max defense, then I do a lot little, but then he's also doing a lot less damage back to me. So you're gonna be noticing that he does go for the Air Slash, and does somewhat decent of a damage because he gets a critical hit, but it's not too bad just yet, because even though that was a crit, it didn't still put me in a range of Fire Blast on this turn. So here I was debating that should I try to expect him to swap out for whatever reason, but I ultimately decide that this thing is way too big of a threat that I have to attack it, put it in a range of my Choice Scarf Rotom to be able to finish it off. And I didn't still not know if he's choice locked or not. And now I do notice that he is not choice locked with his Togekiss. He goes for the Flamethrower and he doesn't do too much back to me because I do have the Occa Berry. So now I can go for the Iron Head, and this is where I noticed that okay, I'm doing like a third to him, so he definitely has some defense investment. And this is where I'm debating that should I Roost, should I U-turn, or should I Iron Head basically. And at this point I figured that the Centiskorch's only role, besides potentially having to defog Sticky Webs, would be try to 1v1 this Togekiss. And that's basically what you're gonna be noticing that I'm gonna try to do here, cause it's gonna be, it was its primary role, and I can manage the Sticky Webs with most of my team. Only thing that is really crippled by them is my Obstagoon, and now you're gonna notice that he gets the burn with the Flamethrower. 20% chance thanks to Serene Grace, but it still is only 20%, and I get burn on the second Flamethrower that he goes towards me. So it was a very rough turn because I do a lot less damage to him, and he also had the Citrus Berry, which gained some of his health back, and that means that it should be outside of range of Volt Switch for my Rotom, which is a little bit unfortunate because that puts me in a position where I have to kind of more predict when and if and when I have to go for it after my Corviknight has to go down on this turn, because it definitely didn't have any value because now it got burned and it was on a soul hole health. So our first overall pick kind of got unfortunate situation itself into already in week 1, so it wasn't something that I was really too happy about. And the biggest threat versus me is still alive, and it should have been more weakened, but I figured that okay, as long as I can play more aggressively here, or what I have to play aggressively, I can still manage it as long as my Rotom is alive. And if the Sticky Webs do not go up, Obstagoon with Facade can revenge kill it, guaranteed around like 50% or something like that, even if he's max physically defensive. And I know now it's not like a reducing berry to normal type attacks as well. And now I do go for the Volt Switch. This was a hard play for me to make, because if he happened to stay in with his Togekiss for whatever reason, expecting me to click Volt Switch and knowing to leave it, or expecting me to click maybe even Shadow Ball, he would have been able to potentially claim another kill depending on what mod I go into. So it was a very tough turn, but thankfully I got the prediction right that he would preserve the Togekiss with the good amount of health that he was able to keep itself into, and he goes into Rotom mode, which I was fearing that would come in. And this is where I figured that either it's gonna be Centiskorch or it's going to be Noivern, and I'm glad that I went into Noivern, because I did want to know that what item this Rotom was, because I was very fearing of Choice Scarf Rotom into this matchup, and this is one of the primary reasons why I'm running this kind of Noivern, because while I have Seismiton in the back for electric immunity, obviously it's very hard for me to switch into it, because I'm gonna get blown back by potential Leaf Storm if he's able to predict on a right turn. And this is where Rewt has to predict himself, because he knows that I know that he is Choice Scarf, but what he doesn't know just yet that I do pack Protect on this. So he has to take his time, decide that how do I try to react on it as if I didn't have Protect to scout it. And you're gonna be noticing that he does go for the Leaf Storm, try to catch me to be very aggressive on his electric type move hit, and thinking that he would not click a grass type move in front of a Noivern itself. But thanks to Protect, I'm able to stop his shenanigans of mind games that he can provide, and now he's on a pickle himself to try to decide what he's gonna be doing. So here I'm debating that what do I want to do? Do I want to just Super Fang, or do I want to U-turn? Super Fang would be nice to put Togekiss in a range of Facade, but it puts me in a position that I have to Sakamon to it. So instead of having to Sakamon and potentially even risking the 90% of risk getting that, I went for the U-turn, and my opponent makes a aggressive but a good play as well when he probably predicted me to click U-turn, because he goes into his resistance to it, being the Cinderace. Obviously he could have gone into Togekiss as well for this, but he probably thought that that would only lure in my Rotom. So this was a rough turn, Cause now basically while I have a safe play in Seismitoad, he can just safely U-turn on this and I cannot do anything about it. I have to sit here and now I have to make most out of this while I'm getting my Seismitoad in. It has to take the Stealth Rocks damage, which is not too much. Thankfully I do have the Rocky Helmet on the Seismitoad in itself, so when it's gonna be taking damage with U-turn, at least that is there for me to punish it instead of being able to U-turn for free and me having something like leftovers, which is only gaining me a little bit of health and he's only providing himself momentum for free. So that scenario in itself was tough for me to be in, but it also gave me opportunity to go for free for slot spawn, which is able to basically catch either Rotom, Mole or Togekiss in if he thinks that I'm clicking a ground type move, and he actually does go into his Orbeetle, which is a little bit worrisome because this definitely could be carrying sticky webs, and it means that if I want to get any kind of value out of my Obstagoon, I have to hard swap into it. And it's gonna be risky in itself because I know this thing learns Body Press and it obviously has a Bug Stab. Body Press would be doing more to me, especially if it's fully physically defensive or something in that nature. But in a Silver Lining I do catch the poison, and it's able to also reveal while doing the damage that he's actually leftovers as well. So I know he's not like a Colbo Berry set on this, and here I'm like, okay, can I leave a Bug Buzz guaranteed from a Orbeetle? And you're gonna be noticing after doing the calc, I definitely leave it. I just wanted to make sure on that very quickly that if I'm able to do, so it should be a safe play for me as long as he will click that. Body Press is the one move that he could be punishing me for, and if he does that, well, then he deserves his kill. But he does go for the Energy Ball. He is very prepared for the Seismitoad because he definitely wanted his Dracovish to do as much work as possible, which makes sense because once Seismitoad would be gone, my team did not like Physics Rend at all, especially when my other water resist would be my Noivern, which doesn't like obviously switch into Dracovish at all, being part Dragon type. But now this is where I'm debating that do I want to click Knockoff or do I want to click Facade. And the worrisome here clicking Facade, as I'm gonna be doing a calc for this, is that it doesn't actually kill a fully physically defensive Orbeetle from this range if it would be that kind of set. So that's kind of something that I have to be like, okay, I have to go for the Knockoff here, and he does have the Duraludon in the back, so it also makes sense that you're gonna be noticing to see that he does sack it. And that's probably in a hindsight. On this turn I should have been able to click my Knockoff very early and save time from there. As you're gonna notice that the video in itself has some shenanigans going on. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad as I render this and everything like that, but my apologies if you noticed like a grayish blank moment over there. But we are back into this situation where he does go into his Duraludon. It barely lives, but I'm able to finish it off because obviously it's not able to outspeed me on the following turn. So Obstagoon is able to claim us a kill, and now we are in 5-5 situation where my Corviknight is down, but so is his Duraludon. So both of us lost our Steel type right from the get-go, and now we basically wait to see that how he responds to this. My biggest worry is still the Togekiss in the back, and this Cinderace. While I do have Seismitoad in the back, I still don't know what kind of set he's running in itself, and since I'm not bringing Stealth Rocks, I cannot tell with Hazard's damage that if he's running heavy duty boots on it or not. And here I'm basically debating between Seismitoad or Noivern, but because the Dracovish is still alive, I preserved its health because it's so worn down and the Stealth Rocks are up. Even though it's only 6% that Seismitoad has to take all that necessary percent of health, I figure that it's more valuable for me to check the Dracovish, which I don't have any other switching for, and Noivern definitely should be able to take any one hit, and I'm able to notice while I switch into it what its item is going to be, and it's going to be another Choice Scarf. And that kind of worried me on that spot when I noticed it, because while it means that it's also another Choice Lock mod that I can try to predict around with, it's still a mod that can outspeed my own Scarfer, and that wasn't something that I was hoping to see, because my hope was that as I go into this matchup, I would have the fastest mod in this matchup with my Rotom being Scarf in itself, because I didn't think any of his higher tier speed monster that outspeed Rotom would be scuffed themselves, but I was wrong on that. He brought the Cinderace as he did with that set, so I have to kind of worry about and make sure that Centiskorch or and Seismitoad remain alive and healthy to deal with that thing in a long run. And now you're gonna be noticing that he does bring his Rotom in, as he's gonna be going for the Volt Switch, and this is where I was like, okay, this is a scenario that I might need to be aggressive with. I can potentially afford, or I should be able to afford, to take a Volt Switch from this. So if he happens to stay in, I get the slow momentum off, and I can position myself properly versus a Togekiss swap in, which I would think that makes a lot of sense on this turn. Or if he goes into Cinderace, this story is still the same. Or if he happens to make a hard swap like he does, expect me to go into the Seismitoad, potentially try to get his Sticky Webs up or go for another Energy Ball, depending on what else he... Like, I expect him to still have Sticky Webs at this point of the battle, so I kinda was glad that I definitely got that U-turn off and be able to react to that Torpedo, because now I get my Obstagoon in for free yet again, and as often as possible I get the Obstagoon in and deter him to be able to get the Sticky Webs up, the better off I am in the long run, because I do not have a Hazard Remover alive anymore when the Corviknight is already been gone. Thanks to the Togekiss shenanigans, trying to 1v1 it, and we got Togekiss basically on that turn when he was able to burn us and all that shenanigans. But here we are, and this is where I'm like, okay, we're gonna be clicking knockoff, cause if we are able to knock off any of the choice covers in the back, try to swap into us, we can do that, and it definitely guarantees the kill on the Torpedo. And I figured that at this point, like, no matter what move I would be clicking, I expected him to sack them all. So in a hindsight, it really should have not mattered really which one of my stabs I click, because both of them should be killing the Mon in front of me. And now he does go into the Cinderace, and while I do have Obstruct on this to try to scout what he goes for, it's not the worth of taking another extra turn of burn when he also has the Stealth Rocks up. So Stealth Rocks on up on the field. I cannot speak anymore. I'm very sorry. It's been a long day for me. I've been awake since 4 AM and it's right now 8 PM as I'm recording this. So hopefully I can manage to do this without stumbling on my words that more than I normally already do. But here I do start debating again that who do I want to go into, because this Cinderace is proving to be a problem a little bit to switch into with these Stealth Rocks being up, because I need the Seismitoad still alive for the and healthy enough for the Dracovish. As long as that's the case, that Dracovish is alive, I cannot afford it to swap in for free. And every single time I will bring the Centiskorch in, that would definitely invite the Togekiss and it's able to then outspeed me and potentially flinch me down. Whereas if I bring Noivern in, worst case scenario, I can still outspeed it, go for the Super Fang and get it more lower health, where it's a lot easier for my Obstagoon, for example, to revenge kill it and put him in a position that he cannot defend against, and I don't have to worry about Rotom clicking potential Shadow Ball or any kind of shenanigans potentially. But we have to wait and see that how I'm gonna be playing this one out. I started to really questioning that which mon do I really need in a long run, and how nice this Noivern is. I start to feel like that I have to stay in, go for the Super Fang, and hopefully I land it, because then I put it in basically in a round of range of 35 to 40% I would think, based on its HP that I can see from here, and then depending at what point of range it would be around when it's been half from here. And you're gonna be noticing that I take a long time with this decision. It wasn't easy to really let go of this Noivern, but eventually I believe that I do. And you're gonna be noticing that I do click the Super Fang here. And thankfully I do land it. So this is not gonna be going for waste in that sense. And he does go for the Air Slash. And you're gonna be noticing that I do live it, because he is not offensive, heavily offensively invested with this Togekiss. I wasn't able to calc that, but in hindsight I do know now, seeing how much it's doing, that it's definitely not offensive. And I actually already saw his team after we shared on his team, so I know that it's now physically defensive Togekiss with the amount of damage and what kind of how well it was able to take hits early, and here I was like, okay, well, since I was able to leave that hit, should I reconsider what I just committed myself into? But you're gonna be noticing that I just happened to stay in, go for another Super Fan because it's the hardest hitting move, and I cannot really afford to U-turn into anything else, and Draco Meteor obviously is resistant, and Protect is not getting me anywhere. But here, my opponent does swap out, which I was like, you noticed that I was kind of speechless for a second, because I was really not expecting him to make this kind of play, and I get the Super Fang off on the Cinderace, which I'm not sure if he wanted to do that just to get himself in a blaze range. Did he try to predict me, or what was the situation? But he did make this play, which I was heavily surprised by, and now I do go for the Protect, because I know this thing is Choice Scarfed, so he's probably gonna be staying in and go for a move, and I do see him that he goes for the Zen Headbutt, and I'm like, oh. In my head I was like, okay, he is in a predicament, just like I am, because now I know that he knows that he is choice locked into this. I have an obstacle in the back, and if he kills me a free switching into it, I will get a free kill. But instead of making that kind of play, I did stay in. Worst case scenario, he would have finished me off, and then I would have got my obstacle for free anyway. So I was able to make a play that actually allowed me to gain more from it, because he felt pressure to swap out. And now basically with my U-turn, as he goes into Togekiss, now I do get my obstacle in. And now Facade is free because he has no Ghost type on his team. He did not bring his Runerigas. Duraludon is dead, which was his only normal resist. So Facade definitely from this range, even if he's max HP, max defense, he should not be able to live this hit. And the obstacle is able to claim another life for us. But he's gonna be preserving the Togekiss. Something else has to go down, and that is going to be the Dracovish. And at this moment I was actually quite satisfied that he made this play, because this frees up Seismitoad so much more to not to be as essential to keep in the back so healthy that I was trying to keep it into, because it was forcing my hand to try to pivot in with my other things, as you noticed versus the Cinderace, like I was using my Noivern. So him giving me that Dracovish from that moment actually helped me a lot to try to evaluate my team, because I knew now that the Seismitoad can be utilized in a different ways, and now I can afford to go into it, force him to take some chip damage, and now I can dedicate it into this role as long as I need to. And if it happens to go down, I knew that I also have my Bug Fire type in Centiskor's to be able to also wall this thing for the most part. The hardest hitting move that he seems to be able to have for it would be the Zen Headbutt, because this thing doesn't get any kind of rock coverage, and there's most likely the case that he then doesn't have anything else to hit it too hard. So Centiskor's can now definitely deal with that thing. Seismitoad was able to provide the Rocky Helmet chip, and now the Togekiss does come in, and here I was like, okay, best case scenario, we avoid getting flinched, which I know is not in my favor, but off the chance it happens, I have the Sludge Bomb, it can potentially even kill, but he happens to flinch me, and I was like, okay, well, I was willing to go for this trade-off. I was more willing to go for this trade-off because, like I said, Centiskor's is still around to deal with the Rotom mode, dealing with the Cinderace, and this Togekiss just is able to claim a life when it was able to come in for free like it was able to do now. So here I just have to go into my Rotom, and here I decided that I do click Shadow Ball over Volt Switch, which in hindsight you're gonna be noticing that I do click Shadow Ball here, because I thought it would be killing from this range, but little did I know it's not guaranteed to kill from here. You're gonna be noticing that he lives in a sliver amount of health. Don't know what kind of roll that actually was, because I don't know exactly what kind of HP he was left at, but he was able to live that, and that's leaving me in a pretty low range of health. In a hindsight, I feel like I should always click Volt Switch there. I'm not sure why I was really trying to lock myself into Shadow Ball. That's in a hindsight definitely one play that I look at that wasn't necessary by any means to even click that move, but it is what it is. It happened. I clicked that move thinking that it's the best. I guess the best one that I could think of why I clicked that move was that off the chance he would go into Rotom mode again and preserve it, I would have done damage to it, but in a hindsight it would have only given me something like yeah, it would have given me Centiskor's. I guess in a hindsight it wasn't too bad of a play in a sense that Rotomo, if it came in on a volt switch, so I didn't have the best place for that, cause then it could always volt switch on my Zen discords, and if the Togis comes in, it's able to claim another kill. So it wasn't necessary. Now I thought about it, maybe it actually wasn't too bad of a play after all, but either way, we are here that the Rotomo does go for the Thunderbolt here. Cause my Seismitoad is gone, so it's free to lock itself into this, and now becomes a scenario that Zen discords has the team on its back, potentially to be able to carry out us from here, cause we can potentially 1v1 a lot of his mons that he has left, and now we also remove his Choice Scarf, which means that now things like Noivern became a little bit more valuable for ourselves, because it's able to outspeed it now. Thanks to that knockoff in itself, and now it comes over a little bit of hectic here, cause I'm playing versus some RNG shenanigans here, not going into my way. Not luck, but the odds should be in my favor that I can 1v1 this with my set, but critical hit, any one critical hit that he could get at me could really screw me over here. And now I'm just banking on that. Please give me just good sleep talk turns. I haven't get too many of those thus far. Some of them being rest. Another one is rest again. So this is just another turn that I like. It's burning out my time. If you haven't followed the timer, which you may have not been able to follow through it too much, besides noticing how much time I have been taking, but you're gonna be able to notice from the right end corner around the range that my opponent's character is at. Around that point you notice the time, and it's really going down quickly at this point, so I really have to click quickly my moves being either rest or sleep talk depending on the turn what it is. I'm not clicking any other move at this point as long as he's staying in, cause I cannot afford to not be able to gain myself back to full, cause this is the thing that can also beat the Cinderace in the back. If I leave myself in a range of Zen Headbutt, I'm in a tough spot versus that thing. Or if he happens to have like high jump kick, that could also clean me out if I'm very low range, because then he can finish the other things off in the back as well if he's adamant. So this you're gonna be noticing that this is very how would I say? It's definitely like, I know what word I should be saying, but I don't know how, like, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, so I'm not gonna try to butcher it. But it's very simultaneously, we are doing a lot of the similar plays back and forth, and it's really just me trying to live on a slimmer, be able to get these sleep talks right, keep myself healthy for the Cinderace, and hoping that the time that I still have left would be enough, or I would be able to finally catch off a Fire Blast to hit this Rotom and actually be able to kill it. But you're gonna be noticing that we are keeping going back and forth. I did get knockoff, but it's not doing as much as in the first time, because the item is already removed. So now I go for a rest yet again, hoping that I can live it. Like you notice that I'm getting excited, but I'm also really pressured by the timer on the corner. And it's literally on the slim at this moment. And now my opponent does go for the Hex, finally revealing this move that he does happen to carrying on this thing. It doesn't really, I guess, matter in a too much, because it's still doing about the same damage as the Thunderbolt. But I guess he just clicked it just the sake of revealing it to me throughout the battle. And now we are just going for the Sleep Talk yet again, hoping that the time would be enough for me able to finish this thing off. But now he does go for the Volt Switch, and you're gonna notice why he did click the Volt Switch, because it should be ideally for him able to secure some differential depending on what move I get, because I'm not sure, like, Knocko might actually kill from here, but if I get Fire Blast I won't be able to kill it. But you're gonna be noticing this is going to be the final turn of this battle. I'm still happy because I got the knockoff on this. I was really happy about it, but I will not know this until it's really too late, that how little time I had left on this battle. I noticed it was on yellow on the right hand corner, but I didn't like kept looking at it too closely, and I should have throughout the battle, because we are gonna lose. And you're gonna notice my reaction on the webcam. I couldn't believe at the moment that it actually ran out that moment. I knew it was running out, but now I'm in a shock, and then the frustration starts kicking in, because you notice that I had 4 mons remaining, that Rotom mode which came into the field as the last mod, it was on red health, but I lost the battle. The first battle in Generation 8 in the chess timer ends up being the one that cost me. I outplayed my opponent, I feel like, for the most part throughout this battle. I was very happy with my prep. I felt like for the most part it was really dictating the battle as well, along with my plays. But the one thing, even in the real life in itself, the father time, you cannot beat it. And I couldn't beat it this week. It came, like, I knew like how it works regards to that who would be losing, because this was actually talked about in the coaches chat before the season started officially. So I knew the consequence, I don't know how to, you know the word that I'm trying to say and I cannot pronounce it. I knew what the outcome would be. I'm trying to use that word now because I cannot pronounce the other word. I knew the outcome that it would mean that if you run out of the time throughout the battle, and knowing that, I should have kept more awareness starting from turn 1, like how much time I should be spending on. This loss is on me, but you noticed from my face that how difficult it was for me to take. As a battler, as a competitive battler, I felt like I did everything right. And then this one thing that we struggle with in Generation 8 as a single player battler, especially in a traffic format, now that we don't have that 60-minute timer instead of having this 10-minute hard timer for ourselves. It really caught me off guard now that I actually had to deal with it in week 1. And it's going to be something that I do work on right now. In a spot I was so upset at myself. I wasn't upset to my opponent. Good game to Rewt. I talked to him after game, like, good game to him. The only thing that I was upset was at myself about the timer, because I did mismanage it heavily on my first attempt. I don't know, at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna go throughout the entire season, I'm gonna be going 0-7, I'm gonna be like plus 30 or 40 differential because of this timer, because I'm not the type of player who clicks the moves so quickly, as you notice. I like to think my time when I need to really think several turns ahead, but at this moment, as you saw that how I was doing it, it was way too long for me. So that is, I'm not gonna let this play out yet again. Let's close it out from there. So I'm gonna wrapping out this video right here. So thank you all for watching. Sorry again that this wasn't live commentary as I wanted it to be, but things happen. I literally screwed up this week in so many levels. Not the timing itself, but also the recording. But next week we'll be coming back and we are gonna be taking on the choice specs, and then it's going to be live commentary. I'm not gonna let myself time out, and I'm gonna make sure that everything recording wise should be working as they're supposed to. But until then, thank you all for watching, and I'm gonna be seeing you guys later.